Hello, I'm Luke Hatfield. You join myself and Shrewsbury Town reporter Lewis Cox. We're here at the Montgomery Waters Meadow. Lewis, football has fans back. They're in the ground. What did you make of it? I mean, it was a brilliant atmosphere, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was strange in such a good way. You know, strange obviously because it's different to normal, but it's different to how, you know, what we've been used to for 6 months, not even being at games, and then coming to games being empty. It makes such a difference. Even though it was only 1,000 in the West Stand over there. It was for the whole day, as I've written in report, driving up to the stadium, seeing fans in the blue and amber, and then seeing them start tripping into the ground, and seeing them take their seats, and you know, the applause they gave the players when they came out at the start. I did a video. I mean, it was a real moment. I sort of gave you a lump in your throat, really. It was, you know, you take it for granted. Certainly we do, working in football. You take it for granted coming to games, which, you know, obviously I've been at the 2 away games that fans haven't been able to come to. You take it for granted, and you realise that for the fans, you know, many of those that came today and ones that couldn't come, you know, Shrewsbury Town is everything to them, and they've been without it for 6 months and struggled to cope. So you could really feel it from that stand over there today, how much they were enjoying it, and you know, hoping for the best on the pitch, which didn't happen, sadly, unfortunately. You know, the downer on today, I suppose, but the overriding message is, you know, can be of pride for the club of what they've been able to stage this pilot, and, you know, successfully as well.
Yeah, and it was a special moment when the team came out. I think that's when you really did hear the fans kind of pick up, because it was a little bit strange. It was obviously, you know, socially distanced, and it was a bit eerie at the start. Not much chanting, a bit quiet, polite clapping kind of thing. It wasn't like a football atmosphere, was it? Until what you referenced, and you know, then it'd take like the first error for a few groans, and it's almost like, oh, you know, yeah, you remember what a football crowd is like, you know, getting excited and then frustrated, and yeah, surreal experience. But I hope those that came enjoyed it, you know, albeit apart from the result, while I think there was probably still encouragement to take. Disappointing result, obviously. Yeah, it was. But lastly, on the pilot, I was speaking to the fans afterwards. It seemed so organised. It seemed like everyone played ball. There was no one who was like, there just didn't seem to. It seemed to go without a hitch. And for me, it's the most positive step we've seen in regards to fans getting back in grounds. Because in reality, there are 3 other stands here. One of them has press in it. That's fair to say. But the other 2, there's promising signs there that we could see more than 1,000 eventually. The club could have easily, in my opinion, having seen this today, catered for the 2,700, you know, season ticket holders they've got. You know, there's easily space when you count all the stands. Space and the site as a whole, 24 acres. They could easily do it. It's just obviously relies on the government go ahead, you know, and obviously the government can't just green light Shrewsbury to have all of its fans in. It's not entirely fair, is it? So, you know, and obviously that all depends on, you know, spikes and rates all across the country, and you know, that's well beyond this club's control. But they've spoke with Mike Davis just then from the Sports Parliament, the Sports Liaison Officer, who's been so integral to getting this pilot on, and he was so chuffed with how today has passed, and said a big thank you to the fans. And you know, that he had representatives from the league and the SGA with him, and they were all very impressed as well. So good signs there. You know, the onlookers who, you know, were keeping an eye on how today's pilot went, you know, we're impressed, and Town, you know, should feel very happy with that they managed to pull it off. Yes, certainly. And as you said, the only disappointing thing about the day really was the result. It was a frustrating one for Town, wasn't it? Because they dominated for large parts. They didn't start brilliantly, and they conceded that goal, put them on the back foot. But after that, they were pretty dominant. They obviously got the equaliser through Sean Worley, who was very good today. I thought him and Jason Cummings really stood out. But it was an absolute howler from the new boy in between the sticks, wasn't it?
Yeah, 2-1 defeat, obviously, to newly promoted Northampton in the first home league game of the season. You never want to lose to a newly promoted team at home at the start of the season. That's what's happened, unfortunately. But for a second time in 3 games this season, coming after the Middlesbrough Cup defeat, it's a keeper howler, isn't it? It's, you know, Sarkic, obviously off the back of Burgoyne's errors in Middlesbrough, had a really, really good debut at Portsmouth last weekend. He was excellent getting that clean sheet. and I did not expect him to to endure a howler today. I really didn't, and I think he showed his true colours after that with the remarkable save.
Certainly atoned for the error.
Yeah. In everything he did at Portsmouth last week, he was excellent, but just rushed out of his goal to do the right thing, to take control. Sam Ricketts said, but just got it all wrong. Swing and a miss, missed it altogether, and obviously Hoskins scored what was the winner with about 25 minutes left. Shortly after Sean Worley had, like you said, brought Town level, and all the momentum looked like it was with Town to get the winner. Town was so deserved of the equaliser. They were much the better side from the 15th minute, like you said. They paid for a very sloppy start, conceding after 12 minutes. I think the start was sort of born out of Ethan Ebanks-Landau's head injury inside 30 seconds.
Didn't help at all, did it?
Ebanks-Landau was their captain today, influential centre-half, with Aaron Pierre missing through suspension. And I'd literally just tweeted that the game had got underway, looked up, and Ebanks-Landau's on the deck, holding his head. I didn't even see the collision, and obviously take no precautions with a head injury. The right thing. Apparently he's got a big old lump, Ebanks-Landau, no concussion, which is good news, and he had to go off, bringing Brad Walker back into defence, and that leaves Town without their two main defenders, and they just failed to recover for 10 or 15 minutes. They didn't get to grips with it, did they? It really set them back, but they found their feet, and like you say, from 15 minutes onwards until maybe the midpoint of the second half, when it got a bit end to end, Town was so much better than Northampton, and Ricketts will be so frustrated that they've lost this today.
Yeah, it certainly is frustrating, but as I said, there are positives to take on.
Yeah. You've said it there. Cummings and Worley obviously combined for the goal. Playing at Town's wide forwards, Town's wingers this season, playing on either flank of the 4-3-3. Cummings on the right, Worley on the left. They combined at times so well. None more so than the goal. Cummings' pass for Worley was great, and a great finish. Great for Worley to get off the mark so early in the season. A shame that either of the strikers, Raquel Pike or Daniel Udo from the bench, couldn't get off the mark. But at times they did well, sort of holding it up, and they had moments in the box where on another day it'd have fallen for them, and then they got a shot away. But I think it goes without saying that with those two as the two centre forwards at the club, there needs to be more recruitment there. Before the October deadline, there'll more than likely be another centre forward in the building, maybe two. So there's work to be done, and a squad to still be built to an extent while they've made six signings. And worth remembering the absentees today. I've touched on Ebanks-Landau, Pierre at the back. You could argue certainly two influential centre midfielders missing through injury: Dave Edwards, Sean Goss. Obviously the tragic news of Ollie Norburn and his partner. We obviously offer our sincere condolences there to the Norburns. Terrible family tragedy. Meant that he obviously wasn't involved today and may not be for a couple of weeks. Big loss, obviously, the skipper. So, and the squad looks to the bare bones, doesn't it? You've got academy kids on the bench, and not many options from the manager to look to change a game. So I do think there's a lot to be done. When we get to October and beyond that deadline, the 11 could look very different today. And it's worth a mention for young Scotty High in midfield today, making his home debut. Teenager on loan from Huddersfield. I think for the third game out of three, looked excellent. Looks every bit a League One player, and it's easy to see why he's so highly rated at Huddersfield. He looks a top talent, and another solid game for Scott Goldborn as well. So there are positives, like you say, but it's so tough to grasp them at the moment after such a sort of gut-wrenching defeat. But the wider picture is the success of the fans today, and you just hope that it won't be too long into the season before Town can get that first victory, because when you don't, it builds and builds quickly, doesn't it? EFL Trophy game against Newcastle's kids here, Newcastle's 21s on Tuesday, then a tough old trip to Plymouth next week isn't easy. No. So yeah, you just want to get that win as soon as possible.
Yeah, so a disappointing day on the pitch for Shrewsbury Town, but great off of it. It's great to see fans back in the ground. For all the post-match reaction and more, make sure you visit shropshirestart.com.